Hey guys, welcome back to the internet. It's been a rough couple of days dealing with this. Man, I look like crap right now. So let's stop showing my face and let's just start reading stories. Too lazy to walk to the car? Okay. So this happened earlier. So I have the same birthday as my mother-in-law, and since my wife and I got together, we celebrate it every year together. They plan it all, and I just tag along or drive for them. This year, my mother-in-law invited her brother and his family, a wife and son, to lunch at one of the big malls here in my country, an hour drive from where we live. So since it's the weekend, traffic and parking is a real pain. I managed to park near the entrance to the mall, which is really hard to come by. With perseverance and patience, I found a parking spot, which isn't too far, probably 100 meters by rough estimate. The frustrating part about the parking lot system in the mall is if you go out of it, you will be led in a one-way street, meaning you have to go around the mall back to where you were parked. This is why I was glad to find a parking spot that is as close as we could get to the entrance. So after doing all the celebration and wandering in the mall, we all decided to head on home because we were all just tired from the walking. My mother-in-law's sister-in-law went out first, and as we followed her, she told me it would be better if the car could be in the entrance already. I told them that we parked not far from the entrance and that it would be time-consuming to drive around the mall just to get to the entrance again. She told me that she's going to tell my mother-in-law that it's the grandest idea to have the car at the entrance. Cue malicious compliance. I said, okay, and walked to the car. They can actually see me getting in the car and driving off. I went out of the parking lot and started driving to the busy one-way street. After 5 minutes, I got a call from my mother-in-law asking where I was. I told her that her sister-in-law told me to get the car to the entrance. She went silent and just said, okay. After roughly 20 minutes in the one-way alley, I got to the entrance. No one was smiling. I parked close to them so she won't be walking up to the car. I got out of the car and opened the door for her and closed it after she got in the car, which I do not do normally, and drove back home. The drive was silent. I'm dead tired and I did not feel like it was my birthday today. I went out of my way and exerted effort for the sweet, satisfactory, malicious compliance. It's like, you could either walk for 1 minute, or you can stand there for 20, which is worse. My camera system doesn't work during the night. So I work as tech support for a company that sells access control, alarm, and video surveillance products. I'm on the phone all day, helping installers with any technical issues they could have with our products. I get a call from a technician that is his own boss. He's kind of a one-man show. He has no employee and mostly does small business or residential camera system installations, so when he calls, it's never a real, unsolvable issue. He installs lower-end cameras and DVRs that are pretty much plug-and-play. So he calls me, and he's at the customer's location, which is a small family-owned business. His customer is right next to him. The problem is that his camera system is not recording at night. Okay, I get calls like this every day. I'm 99% sure the problem is that he didn't set the schedule correctly. So I walk him through the menus, and he slowly makes his way to the storage schedule section. After having him tell me what he sees on the screen, we determine that the recording schedule for his storage is not the problem. There's another section in the menu where you can enable motion detection to work only at a certain time. So I help him navigate to that section, but it was set for 24/7. So the issue wasn't in the DVR menu. At this point, I'm thinking he went into each individual camera settings, and it's the cameras themselves that doesn't have the right schedule. We can't browse the web interface of the camera when it's on the DVR, unless you have a laptop and some IPv4 knowledge. So I have the technician grab his laptop in his truck, and I walk him through setting up his network card to the right IP. After about 30 minutes of back and forth, he finally gets to one of the camera's web interface, only to realize that the schedule was left by default, with the right settings, so that wasn't the issue either. At this point, all my ideas were shot down. The technician kept on saying that the issue was with the product, but I knew it was almost impossible. I had a look at the time the videos would stop and start recording. It was never at the same time. Sometimes it would start at 6:30 a.m. and stop at 9:20 p.m. Sometimes it was 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So the technician puts his customer on the phone. I ask him about what he does when he gets in the morning, what times does he leave at night, and what he does before leaving. It turns out, the first thing the guy does when he gets to work in the morning is flick the light switch on and turn on his PC. Then when he goes home at night, he turns off the light before walking out of the building. I ask him to turn off the light right now. He does, and the DVR immediately shuts down. His DVR was plugged into the same outlet as the lights, so it's only working when the lights are on. Needless to say, the technician was super embarrassed. We were on the phone for about 50 minutes before we realized what was going on. I guess the moral of the story is that you can't assume that anything is properly installed. You should always start the troubleshooting process to the very basics, even if it seems stupid obvious. Oh man, those light switches connected to like electrical outlets, those always end up being like the most confusing problems you can run into. My son and I experienced a choosing beggar in the wild. So no pictures, although in hindsight it would have added to the story so you could get a full view of what I had to witness. So I'm in a pretty big grocery store, and they're notorious for never having enough lines open. Not Walmart, although good guess. And my son and I get behind this woman in a motorized cart. She's got a basket that is filled to the brim, and she's slowly taking them out one item at a time. Very slowly, and grunting like she's having trouble. I tell my 8-year-old son to ask her if she could use his help to empty her basket, trying to teach him to help others. She agreed, and he quickly got everything out, but not before she told him exactly where on the belt to organize everything. While he's doing this, she cleans out her purse full of garbage and receipts, doesn't even turn to look at me in the face, but hands it to me and saying, "Would you find a place to throw this away?" I tell her no, and that once she gets closer to the cashier, they have trash cans behind the counter. She wads it all up and then slams it back in her purse. After my son is finished, she was kind enough to offer my son a candy bar for his work. I told her no, it's okay. He can do that kind of stuff without being given something. She tells him to pick something anyway, and I then allow it. She gets up to the cashier, and they know her by name. Uh-oh. And there's even a woman on standby helping to bag her groceries, according to the woman's demands. When she goes to pay, she says the exact amount on her card is $21.36. There isn't enough money on her food card for all the items she had packed into her cart. I feel bad for her, but not that much after her numerous bossy fits she's now had towards the cashiers. She has them backed up for over 20 minutes while she says, "Oh, I thought I had enough. I thought I had enough," while she rocks back and forth like a crazy for added effect. All the other lanes were about 10 people deep with full carts, and my stuff was now already on the belt. That's why I didn't move. Suddenly, she stops her act and turns to ask my mom, "Do you live in this town?" He answers yes. Cue her waving her hand to fan herself and loudly saying how it's so hot, and she's got to wait for a bus, and she asks me, "You wouldn't mind taking me home?" I sternly informed her that no, that will not be happening. She then tries to say she didn't know she was short on money, and if my son can return the candy bar. At that, the other cashier went to the next register, got her scanning gun, and proceeded to scan my items from the other belt. I asked while paying at the other register, "I'm willing to give $20 towards her groceries to help, but only if this isn't something she does often." The cashier gives me that look like, "Please don't," and says that this is her 3rd time in that week, and that people buy her groceries all the time. She's definitely not short on food. I thank the cashier, bag my own items, and my son, his candy bar, and I leave from that hot mess. On the way out, the lady who couldn't get out of her cart to get her own groceries out is now standing, telling the cashiers how I'm rude and inconsiderate. Great learning time for my son, since I told him helping someone is okay. You're not obligated to keep helping them if they're just using people. Man, that almost sounds like some masterful panhandling. Why stand on the side of the road asking for money when you can put people in awkward situations that make them want to give you money? Alright, now we've got Entitled Mom brings along her kid to work unannounced. So my company sets up a booth at a carnival, and we engage several part-timers to assist at the carnival. The part-timers are required to go around the carnival ground to distribute flyers, share information, and direct visitors to our booth. So on the day of the carnival, after setting up, I met up with the part-timers to prepare them for the day. Out of all the part-timers, only the Entitled Mom was late. She mentioned she'll be 15 minutes late, but it was closer to an hour. As we couldn't wait, I briefed the others and deployed them for the day. When the Entitled Mom arrived, she had her kid in tow, around 5 or 6 years old. Due to the job nature, we can't have her lugging her kid while working, and she knew this. She says, "My husband couldn't handle the kid, so I had to bring her along." I said, "I can't have you working with your kid." She says, "It's not my problem. If you don't like it, get someone to watch over him." So my colleague, who was watching this unfold, offered to watch over her kid. He was only required to help out during the start and end of the carnival, so was entirely free during the event. I thought, alright, since she was free. Says, "I can watch over her, get her some food, watch some shows, play some games, but you'll need to pay me." She says, "Whatever, but I'm not paying you for your time, only for the kid." Just says, "Sure." So I was flabbergasted. My colleague told me not to worry, he had a plan. Once Entitled Mom started working, my colleague brought the kid systematically through every single booth throughout the entire carnival. It was the kid's dream come true, and I believe her best day ever. Whatever she wanted to eat, he bought it. She saw a lot of the shows and won many prizes. And since my colleague had a staff pass, he didn't need to pay for the shows, only for the kid. So at the end of the carnival, when we were clocking the hours worked, the Entitled Mom had the nerve to insist to be paid full, even though she was late for almost an hour. She said that because of various reasons, mainly due to her kid, that she would have been early. She was ranting, and I didn't really pay any attention, as I was tired and I don't decide on the pay. But it was about how I will never understand, as I don't have kids, and how she deserves it because she was a mother. So my manager nearby winked at me and took over. He said he was very pleased with the day's sales and how we are very supportive of her, and we should give kids the best. He told not to worry about the hours she worked, and Entitled Mom will be paid in full. After hearing this, not even a single thanks from the entitled mom, she declared in a loud voice, "At least someone understands." She had this condescending and victorious look on her face. Thankfully, it didn't last long. The sucker punch for the entitled mom was that her kids spent roughly $100, and with the entitled mom's pay at $15 an hour for 8 hours, she made a whooping $20 for the whole day. My colleague made it a point to keep track of the expenses, with receipts, ticket stubs, etc., and took tons of photos. Of course, the entitled mom threw a fit, but with the amount of evidence and her daughter vouching for the fun she had, entitled mom had no case except to yell, "I'm not paying for this," grabbed her daughter, and stormed off. We looked forward on payday when we issued her a check for $20, after subtracting the amount her daughter spent. Well, that's what happens when you say just pay for whatever they want and then just let them have their way. Alright, we got one more story before the question for today. Act like an a-hole and then expect me to write a recommendation for you? Good luck. So I'm now doing a round of job applications, and the experience reminded me of something that happened more than 15 years ago. When I was in high school, I had a frenemy of a classmate. Let's call her Karen. Karen and I were in the same group of friends, but she was also the type of person who would say little things to make you feel bad about yourself, or gossip behind your back. Typical petty high school stuff that we hopefully all grow out of. So not having developed a coherent sense of self-esteem as a teenager, I was and still am a pretty huge dork. I wouldn't retaliate when Karen was up to her usual garbage. Things like underhandedly suggesting I was fat or gay. Well, I guess both were true. Except I'm no longer fat, just gay now. Or organizing sleepovers and making sure I knew that I haven't been invited after the fact. I don't know, it seems pretty minor now, but I spent a lot of time feeling bad as a result of her actions. The thing is, I had always been known as something of a whiz with words at school. I did well in English classes and won awards for writing, that sort of thing. So it was kind of a surprise when, in our senior year, Karen asked me to write her a recommendation for college that asked for a letter of rec from one of your friends. My letter was literally one sentence, and to this day I still remember it. To whom it may concern, I have no idea why Karen asked me to write this letter. She bullied me through middle and high school, and I cannot guarantee that she would contribute positively to the cultural fabric of your institution. Sincerely, Ash Wizzle. I got into Karen's first choice school. She did not. Karma sucks. I also want to say though, after having some life experience, I really should have just refused to write the letter instead of writing a bad one, so I do feel a little bit bad. But I guess, sorry, not sorry? Huh. We just had a story like this not too long ago, about that guy who wanted to get into the Marines and then tried to get a reference from the ex-girlfriend that he abused. Alright, well let's move on to the question now, which is, teachers of Reddit, what was your "how are my students this dumb" moment? Are mermaids real? Followed shortly by a, I don't believe in dinosaurs. She was 16. Well, we don't have any fossils of mermaids, so I don't know, it's hard to tell. So I teach swimming lessons and lifeguard courses. During them, I was trying to teach them CPR, and instead of showing them first, I told them to show me what they already knew about it. I then proceed to observe 15, 16 to 20-year-olds do their weirdest crap to those poor training dolls. My favorite, though, was the kid who did a 2-foot jump onto the chest of a dummy. The dummy slid out from under his feet like a cartoon banana, and he landed on his rear at the end of the pool deck. Good times. Well, I hope they become better trained before they start trying to do this to real people. A classmate of mine in elementary school had this exchange with our teacher. What's the answer to this multiple choice questions with 3 choices? A? No. C? No. I don't know. Man, I guess we'll never know the answer to that one. So a college instructor, you would be shocked. Just last year, multiple students can't save Word documents as PDFs. Students take smartphone pictures of every single slide while I lecture, even though I upload them to our LMS. My personal favorite, when asked to insert a picture into a Word document, one student prints the Word doc, prints the picture, puts the picture on the Word doc, takes a smartphone picture, and uploads the file. I miss my millennial students. Man, I swear, these kids, the smartphone is the only piece of technology they know how to use. And then when it comes to laptops, well, if it's not an Apple, then how does it work? NAT. Had classmates in high school who skipped class to play basketball in the gym. When the teacher found them, they were peeved at having their playtime interrupted. They honestly thought that because they were athletes and were part of various sports teams, that they could do whatever so long as they win games. They were kicked out of their teams for being a-holes and failing classes. Plus, our teams were crap. Yeah, there's always those people that think, oh, I don't need school, I've got sports. And it's like, well, no, you don't really. I'm not a teacher, but in my IB Math Studies course, we spent a good hour and a half explaining to a group of girls that you can't divide anything by 0. It was frustrating to watch them try to argue that you can divide 7 calculators into groups of 0. My teacher just couldn't comprehend the people we had to deal with. Huh, well maybe they were just thinking on another level. I'm a teacher now, but this happened when I was in medical school. The only way we would ever be let off from attending something mandatory is if we had sick leave from our hospital. So naturally, students got really good about lying about having diarrhea and migraines. But if you had too many of the same complaints, the system would flag it, and you'd have to complete a lengthier evaluation, and your parents and guardians would be notified. So one kid had the idea of faking appendicitis. He faked all the signs and symptoms so well, he was after all a medical student, that they almost took him to surgery. Dang, maybe you should try something a little easier next time, like faking Ebola. Alright, well that's all the stories for today. Sorry it felt like I was kind of rushing through it and I skipped a video yesterday. Yeah, this sunburn has been a real pain. And also, Classic WoW goes live in just over 2 hours, so I need to hurry and get this video done so that I can play. But anyways, I'll talk to you guys next time. Meow. 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 What is your problem? Meow. Okay.